Hello everyone, Mr. Drybones here, and I've got another retro game for you. This is one that I picked up a couple of weeks ago for my collection, and I got it because I guess it's part of a trilogy. Originally, I had bought a few games from GameStop because they sell retro games now, and they happen to have a sale at the time. I got Mario All Stars, Super Metroid, and Illusion of Gaia. Illusion of Gaia I got was like $17, which is I thought it was a great deal at the time, and I had never played it before. And I showed one of my friends, and he said that, oh, you got the second part of the Soul Blazer trilogy. So I asked him, about the Soul Blazer trilogy, and he told me, oh, the first one you have to get in the series is Soul Blazer, which was an early Super Nintendo game. And I looked it up, and I think I looked it up on SNES Drunk. Good channel, by the way. I would definitely check them out if you don't already. Much bigger channel than what I've got, but maybe one day I'll be as big as them. But I digress. It looked like a fun game. I was pretty much sold when he said, it's basically a Link to the Past style adventure game. So I went out and I searched up on eBay, and then I found this one. Paid probably a little bit too much than I should have, but you know what? It was worth getting because I streamed it recently on my Twitch channel, and I really enjoyed it. Now, I know today I said I was going to be playing Tetris Attack and Pokemon Puzzle League, or Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, excuse me. But I'm going to hold that off for another week because I'm getting something in the mail that I think is really going to improve that video. Mostly what I've done is, I'm going to go through not just the Game Boy ones, but the Super Nintendo one. So I think next week might actually be like a triple upload day, so it's going to be different than what I've usually done. But I think it'll be really exciting, at least for me, to try something a little bit new, and we'll look at all the games that came out in that set. So yeah, the Soul Blazer. It's an action-adventure kind of game. It's very similar to A Link to the Past in a lot of ways, but not in as many ways as you would think. But we're going to pop it in, and I'll go over the game as we look at the gameplay. So let's go ahead and pop it in. Hello everyone, and here we are, Soul Blazer. We're in the first area. I just played through the game, and I thought about using the file that I used when I finished the game on Twitch, but that doesn't really work out for a couple of reasons because everything is already done. I 100%ed the game, so I didn't have anything left to do. So not really that compelling to watch. So in this game, you're playing as a character named Blazer, but you can name him whatever you want. For the sake of this video, I named him Bones. That's the name I typically use when I'm streaming or recording a video for YouTube. So, the story of this game is the king, I believe his name was Magdrid, made a deal with the devil, essentially, a villain named Death Toll, the king of evil, to trade any living creature in his kingdom for gold. And Death Toll agreed to this, and as such, Death Toll took all living things, including the king, and the world is now empty. So the Master, who is essentially God, sends down an angel, which is you, to destroy the monsters and free the people, of the world. So you do this by going through 6 levels. This is Green Valley, and then there is the Animal Forest, was the Mermaid Kingdom, Dr. Leo's house, the mountain, and then finally Magrid's castle. So it's a very similar, as you can see, top-down perspective Legend of Zelda style game. You start with 8 hit points, and every time you level up you get a little bit more. And the object is, as you can see, the monsters come out of those spawn points. They're invincible for a second, so just stay back a little bit. And upon killing all the enemies, the monster lair will turn into a gate. So there we go, and we step on it. And it'll either open up a path, or it'll free somebody who had been trapped by Death Toll. And as you do that, you'll unlock people who will help you in your quest. They'll either give you magic or give you a hint. Pretty much everybody you save will give you some sort of tip to help you in the journey. Be it new sword, new equipment. So you have weapons, armor, magic. Oh, I need to equip the magic. There we go. or an item. I don't have any items right now. The little blue orb that's floating around me is a magician, and he's the first character you release and meet. There we go, released an old woman. See, the town gets rebuilt in real time. And that's just to show you where to go. When you go back to town, anyway. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. The first person you revive, and he is a magician, and he lets you cast magic spells. The downside is it's coming from his orb, and it'll shoot wherever he's facing. So this can be kind of troublesome, but magic really isn't that useful through the game. I really didn't use it that much except to take care of flying enemies. Which even then, the sword is more useful and faster. So we're going to play this for a little while and explore the first dungeon. It's a neat little adventure game. It's very straightforward, so we got our first item, which is a medicinal herb. And one thing I didn't like about this game as I was streaming it is there are plenty of characters who want to give you medicinal herbs, but you can only carry one at a time. And they're basically like a fairy from The Legend of Zelda. If you die, it restores your health. Unlike the fairies, though, it fully restores your health. This game has a lot of cheese in it, too, so if you play this game, it's not terribly difficult. Just see if you can find the right strategy to get through it. It's a lot like a Mega Man game, where it's all about just finding the right pattern and getting your way through it. Really good music, though. Really some banger soundtracks. Ooh, we found a jewel. So these are littered throughout the game. Oops, that's my status right now, so let's see here. Yeah, really good advice. Always equip your stuff. Although I don't think you would have gotten this far without equipping a sword, because the first thing you get is the sword. But the game is really good. Each world, the people are a little bit different, and the way everything goes together is fairly cohesive. You know, it all goes back to trying to save Dr. Leo because he's the one who summoned Death Toll against his will for the king. And the game is designed so you can't 100% it on your first way through each world, so you do have to backtrack a little bit, but you don't have to travel. You can use the blue warp tiles that were at the beginning of the game, and we'll get to one of those in a minute, that lets you go between town and where the master is. Oh, I think I already used my medicinal herb. Yep. But though, and when you go visit the master, you can heal up at full, and that's where you go to save, too. But the one thing I like is that all the characters you meet are very helpful to you, and they do want to help you save the world, which is kind of different than a lot of, you know, action-adventure games or RPGs. They're usually, they'll help you if you do something for them. Apparently saving the world is not enough. In this game, saving the world is usually enough. They only ask you to do things that they can't do themselves. So no fetch quests or anything like that. Their only side quests are in this game or near the end when you have to find emblems and gems to get better attacks and abilities. But there's not very many. Which, I guess, you know, depending on your point of view, is both good or bad. As far as the game's length, it took me about 10 hours to get through the whole game. And that was with finding just about everything. Because I did backtrack. Once I got the appropriate weapons, you can go back and kill certain enemies. Like enemies that have metal armor, or enemies that are ghosts that you can't kill without having a special sword. Well, yeah, this is the first dungeon, and we're trying to find the man that controls the mill, so that way we can access the elevator to get us down into the lair of the first boss. The areas are fairly short, too. Each one took about an hour apiece to get through. Ooh, come on. There we go. Hit detection on those gates could be a little bit better. It's nice seeing the world get populated. It's really nice to play a game where you can immediately see your actions taking an effect. Oh man, I don't want to die. The player's moves are pretty limited. It's pretty much sword swing, thrust. Thrust is actually really useful at the beginning of the game and toward the end of the game. Oh, good, a level up. Dream Rod. Taken right out of Kirby. We're going to get the guy in the mill, and then I'm probably going to skip ahead with the magic of video editing so we can see the first boss. But overall, I really enjoyed this game. I'm restarting, today is the 23rd at the time of this recording, so I finished this game, and I'm going to play the, Illusion of Gaia, the sequel, or the pseudo-sequel, whatever you want to call it. And I'm looking forward to it. And then I've actually got my eye on getting the third game, which is Terranigma, which that game is only released in Japan and in Europe, and I'm probably not going to be able to play the European version because I can't play that on my hardware, and the Japanese version's in Japanese, so I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do about that one. But either way, it's a good game. I recommend it. I think SNES Drunk was right on his game when he said, recommended this game, and so was my buddy Kajuro, so definitely recommend it. If you're willing, it's kind of an expensive game, but if you're willing to put in the money, I think you're going to get a really good title here. Let's see. I'm going to finish clearing out this dungeon here. Yeah, there's the elevator. We got to find the mill operator so we can use it. There we go. Release the watermill keeper. And one thing that's also worth mentioning about this game is while you're exploring, you can always check your status with the A button. Whoops. You can check your weapons and magic with the X button. And then if you hit the start button, you can see how many monster layers are still left in the castle. So you always know what you're looking for, and you don't have to worry about missing out on something. So it's a pretty well-designed game. Quintet did a really good job on this. So let's go ahead and head back to town. We're going to heal, we're going to get a medicinal herb, and then I'm just going to continue on, and I'll pick it up when we get to the boss. So let's see. So there's the blue tile. That'll take us back to the master. We're going to pick up our medicinal herb. Whoops. It's awkward opening up the menu with the X button. And then closing it with Y. Alright, let's go visit the master, who will heal us up, and we're going to save it. Alright, very good. So I guess I'm going to see you at the boss. So hold tight. Well, okay, so I'm just about to go fight the boss. So before I do that, let me tell you a few things about the game that might help you out before I move on and fight that boss. So this is some stuff that I wish I knew when I was playing the game. So first of all, they're the warps, which you unlock as you progress through the game. You get one for the town, and then there's one halfway into the level, and then there's one right before the boss. So make sure you plan accordingly. When you find the third warp, you know you're about to fight the boss. When you find the second one, you're about halfway through the level. The orange tile there is for saving your game. Secondly, you only get one medicinal herb, which I know I mentioned already, so make sure to use it wisely. You're going to get lots of items by the end of the game, including stuff that increase your attack and defense, but you can only use one at a time. So don't use your medicinal herb unless you know you're going to beat the boss, or if you need it to just make it to the next warp. Otherwise, I would say hold on to it, because no matter what you pick up, you're not going to get a second one. Any you pick up in a dungeon will automatically be used and restore your health. So this is the first level, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Also, the crab walk. When you hold down the left or right triggers, let me go into the dungeon and I can show you. You do the crab walk, which is holding your blade forward and then your character moves accordingly. They'll still move, but they won't turn around. This is important because whatever your sword is pointing at, if you're pointing at gold pieces that are laying on the ground, it'll automatically get pulled to you. I didn't know that until maybe the third or fourth level of the game. So you're going to need those gems to be able to use magic. Without gems, you can't use magic, so being able to pull them in when they're just out of reach is very, very helpful. And against some enemies, this is a really good way, because it does 1 point of damage for every, second that you're on the enemy. So it's a pretty useful trick to have in your artillery. So let's see. Lastly, enemies don't regenerate. Once you've sealed a monster lair, they don't regenerate. The reason these enemies are still here is because they're metal enemies and I cannot hurt them with this sword, so I'll have to come back a little bit later. And it's worth it because you will get new items and stuff like that, so it is worth it to come back later in the game. So yeah, that is going to leave us. Let me head back to the warp area because I got to heal. So that is some tips on the game, and now how about we go and fight the boss? Alright, here I go. Let's see if we can do this on the first try. Oh yeah, and there's no real penalty for dying. If you die, you lose all your gems. There is an item you can find called the special bottle, or I think it's a weird bottle, strange bottle, whatever. If you have that in your inventory and you equipped it before you die, you won't lose your gems, but you can only use it once, so use it wisely. I didn't use magic throughout the game very much, so losing your gems is really not that steep of a penalty. So, let's go ahead and fight the first boss. This guy is actually pretty tricky, but he has a pretty easy pattern. He's always going to move to line up with wherever you're standing so he can attack you. So what I did was I left him over here, and then I swung the blade, and then ran back. So just dodge his attacks, and rinse and repeat. This is very classic video games, attack and run. Just look for the pattern and go for it. The other bosses are usually just as straightforward. The only one I really had issue with was the boss of the 6th area, but if you persevere, you can do it. So don't try and get special either, just one hit and then run. You can't hit him from any other section but up in front, so don't waste your opportunities trying to attack him from the side, and magic will do nothing. This guy, if I remember right, his name is Solid Arm, because you can't hurt him on his arms. So please enjoy the boss fight while I slowly tear this guy down. And enemies have a lot of health, you'll notice that, and it gets bigger as you go through it. Once it reaches the end of the screen, it actually changes colors, kind of like in Kingdom Hearts. But it doesn't mean they have that much health. You'll see it slowly go from, green to yellow, down to dark blue as you attack them. Again, just persevere and you can get through it, and there's not much of a penalty for dying, and as you saw, there's a warp right before this room. So, the reason I caution you into using the medicinal herb only when you know you're going to beat the boss is because sometimes having extra damage or extra defense is going to help. And later in the game, finding the medicinal herb can be kind of a pain because you'll have to fly to a different area, or you're going to have to go through a few rooms before you'll be able to get one. So, if you want to get right back into the fight, just make sure you save your medicinal herb for when you know you're going to win. That's my advice anyway. You can tell me to do whatever you want with my advice. So let's beat this guy and head back and save the village chief. Oh, he got cheap. I was hoping for a perfect. We're on camera. Best not to get fancy. If you decide to play this game, whether you decide to do it through whatever whatever means you wish, that's up to you. I definitely recommend playing it. If you're going to go for the Super Nintendo cartridge, be prepared. It is kind of pricey for an old Super Nintendo game. I want to say I paid around $60 for it. So just be aware. However you decide to play it, I hope that you do decide to play it because it is a fun game. I think it's going to be a very worthy addition to my library, and I'm glad that I was able to play it sooner rather than later. Alright, let's get this last hit and get out of here. There we go. Nice. And just like that, we beat the boss, and we rescued the village chief. So the next step is to get the colored gems, which is the main purpose of the game. So you have to find the multicolored gems so you can confront Death Toll and essentially save the world. So that was a quick look at Soul Blazer. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to be uploading the entirety of my playthrough from Twitch, so look forward to that. I think I'm going to start uploading that on Wednesday, which would be August 26th of 2020, so keep your eyes open for that. You'll be able to watch the whole thing. It's an old stream video, so you're going to see me talking to my followers on that stream, so look forward to it. If you want to watch, I'd be happy to have you. Feel free to leave me any feedback, and hey, I'll see you next game. See you next time, everybody. Oh man, that was awkward. Let me try that again. See you next game, everybody. Hey, thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate you sharing your time with me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like, and be sure to share on social media. Thank you again, and I'll see you next game.